Hello, I'm Jerry Kirkpatrick, and I'm teaching the fundamentals of metal shaping. A short while back, a customer brought me a rocker panel cover from a four-door early Buick, and he wanted 4 of these made, lacking the return on each end. I don't know why he wanted that, but that's what he wanted. So in order to make these and get the proper length, I chose the only place that they weren't all bent up, straightened out in areas and stuff. The only place that was original was right in here, about 1 inch long. So what I did was take a piece of masking tape and tape it as straight as possible right from one side all the way to the other, like that. And then took my knife, scored it, and arrived at the length of the piece in the straight. As soon as I got that cut off, I laid it down on a tablet so it was flat, and then measured its length, and it came out to 2 5/32 long. So I had several pieces sheared to that width that I'll be making the final pieces out of. And he wanted 2 pieces 2 feet long and 2 pieces 3 feet long. Okay, now that I've got them cut to length and deburred, the next thing I'm going to do is try to find this radius here, a top die for my bead roller. And I looked through what I had, and I have this one here, and it's way too big of a radius. It's not going to get me what I want. And then here is a stock radius tool, bead rolling tool from Harbor Freight that I've cut the nose off, and it also is a little bit too large. I need a little sharper radius in here. That's not going to get me what I want. So what I've done is taken 2 3/4 inch flat washers, bored them out to 7/8, which is the shaft size of the Harbor Freight, put them together and turned a nice radius on both of them, so it makes one single radius, and that is going to give me exactly what I want right there. So let's mount these up on the bead roller and get to rolling at least this edge. Okay, so the very first thing I do before I start setting up my bead roller is align the 2 gears in the back. That way, no matter what the difference in the dies are that I'm setting up, I can set this up fairly close to what I'm after and still know that I can adjust the top shaft back or forth just a little bit to get the alignment that I'm after. So to do that small bead that I want on that first edge of the piece, what I'm going to use is a 5/16 spacer on the bottom, and then just a regular skateboard wheel that I put a small groove in a while back, and it's a fairly hard shore, so that one will go on the bottom. For the top, I'm going to use a 3/4 inch spacer, and then those two flat washers that I made a nice radius, constant radius on those two, and then a 7/16 spacer that gets me out past the nose here. The spacer has to be a little bit proud in order for the flat washer to tighten up on. Both of those are in nice and tight. Now I can bring that down, and I see that I'm out of the groove, so I'm going to adjust my top die to where it's right in the center. Come just a little bit more. Right there. Right there. And I think I've got the depth that I want. The next thing I'm going to do is set the sample piece in. Okay, now that I've got the bead roller set up, I'm going to do a sample piece, and I'm just going to put that in so it's right on the edge of this piece, right about there. Now I'm going to bring my fence up so this goes through nice and square, and roll that through. I'm going to go through again. I didn't catch this one little edge right here. Now I think you can see that although it made this little curve in the end that I'm after, on the back side it's raised just slightly right along the edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll all of the main parts, and then I'll show you how I'm going to straighten this out. I thought I'd show you one of the long pieces going through so you can get an idea of how much cast the piece gets from going through a set of rolls like this. So that's what it looks like when it comes out. This is a 3-foot piece. And you may wonder why I have the machine slowed down. It seems like with a long piece and working against a fence, I should be able to move a lot faster. Well, this material is 5052 H32. If it were 1100 or 3003, I could just zing it right on through. But being 5052 H32, it's a little bit harder, a little more brittle. So I want to give the material a time to come into conformance as it's rolling through, instead of just plowing through like you could do with a softer material. And this is only 32 thousandths thick also. So being a kick plate, it's going to be right down on top of the rocker panel where people are going to be scuffing their feet, dragging bags and that type of thing. So I wanted it a little bit tougher than an 1100 or any softer material. That's why I chose the 5052. Okay, now that we've got this first bead rolled, you can see here that there's a slight offset right in this area here. And what I want to do is pull this edge up and set this side down. That'll give me the perfect radius for the original part. And what I'm going to use for that is just a flat die that's made out of a Cummins piston pin. That'll go on first, and then a 3/8 spacer. And then next comes a 5/8 spacer and one of Lazzie's flat dies. And then a 1/2 inch spacer that gets me out past the nose there. And then I want to loosen up the shaft, bring that back until I'm pretty close to, I can use the same fence. I can go all the way back to right there. And I want this edge here right at the tangent point on this slight curve here. So I'm set there. I can tighten up the shaft, bring this down and tighten that up until I feel it just touch. Now I've got the right amount of pressure for the drive. So here's my sample piece. Put it up against the fence, get right on the edge here, tighten that down. And that brought this piece right up. It just took this little kink out, and as you can see here, it lays perfectly on the original piece. And now let's do one of the longer lengths. And you can also see that by flattening this out, we've taken some of the cast out of the part. Well, the next thing to do is make this radius in here with this little flange on it. And I did a sample piece using my the 2 flat washers like I did on the other, and a couple of things. One, these are only 2-inch diameter, and I couldn't set it down far enough to get this 90-degree bend in there. And the other thing is they're much too narrow to give me the radius that I want. And I tried with the regular bead roller die, and because of this shoulder and the radius also, it's not going to get me what I need. And after measuring this radius, it's about 3/8. So what I've decided to do is make a about a 2.5 inch diameter, a little bit larger than this, about a 2.5 inch diameter die out of 3/8 material. Well, it took all afternoon yesterday to finish the die. There was a 3/8 plate that I just bored a hole 7/8 for the shaft size. Turned a nice radius on the lathe, and then welded in a key, so the shaft, the keyway on the shaft has a place for an index. And I did a sample piece yesterday, and you can see that it fits exactly, and it's a little bit larger diameter, so I can set it deeper in the bottom die. And here is a sample piece on the original, and you can see that it sets in there just perfect. It's exactly the same radius, and the reveal is the correct length. Okay, so for the first thing I want to do is get the gears adjusted to a neutral position. On the bottom, I'm going to use a skateboard wheel that I've cut in half and pushed a bushing into both sides, and that way I can use them like this for a very small gap, and I can adjust those for any width, and I can also use them this way as a bottom die for like a press brake. So I'm going to put a 5/16 spacer and then one of the skateboard wheels, and then the second skateboard wheel. Tighten that up. Then for the top, I'm going to use a 5/8 spacer, and then the die that I just made yesterday. And then a 1/2 inch spacer. I want to space this out far enough so when it comes up to 45 degrees on each side, it doesn't hit the snout of the bead roller. So now I can loosen my top shaft, bring this down, and to center it, you can see as I pull it down in there, it actually moved back to center itself in the groove. So I know my top shaft is centered on this groove. I can tighten up the top shaft, open that up, loosen this up some. Now I have my mark at the proper setback there. I can line this up perfect on center. Pull this down Now I can adjust my fence to the proper place. Make sure that bead is nice and straight. There you have it. Let me put this in reverse. Now that's the first angle. I don't want to make it all in one bite, so I'll turn this like a half a turn. Another half a turn. I'm not quite to 90 yet, so another half a turn. And I only use the fence for the first to set the distance in there. Now I'm turning it around so this longer portion is to the outside, but I have to watch the center of the die and make sure it's in the center of the bead. And there you have almost a perfect 90. And as you can see, it's perfect in length from the edge to the radius, and the radius sits in there nice. Okay, I thought you might want to see the last pass through the bead roller. Would have been kind of boring watching. There were 3 other steps: the primary pass, secondary pass, third pass got me to this, and this will be the last pass to bring it to a perfect 90. Watching is the center of this bead, making sure it's right in center of the roller. There you have it. Got a little tweak to it, but we can take care of that, can't we? So this concludes the first part of a 2-part video on building the 1941 Buick sill plates. If you'd like to see the second video, I'll leave a link below. If you like the modifications that I've made to my bead roller, I have a set of plans and a 10-minute video, and I'll have a link to these below. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you like the video, give me a thumbs up and share this with your friends. In this video, I made a die, a 3/8 inch die out of 3/8 plate. In video number 2, I'll be making a 7/16 die out of 1/2 inch plate, and you may find that very interesting to watch. So make sure you watch video number 2. And any comments or questions you might have, just leave them down below. My name is Jerry Kirkpatrick, and thank you for watching.